Let's just wait for the plane to pass by. Awesome. Hey, it's Mel, I hope you're doing well, and welcome back to Creep Week. If you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, if you don't know what Creep Week is, it's a series that I started on my channel last year in order to celebrate the month of October, Halloween. I, every week, will be posting creepy videos. It could be anything. I also accept case recommendations in the comment section down below, so if there is anything you want me to talk about, let me know. Today we're going to be talking about the 1967 Falcon Lake UFO incident. This incident occurred in Manitoba, Canada. It all started with a man named Stefan Michalak. Stefan was a Polish mechanic and geologist, which is someone who studies solids, liquids and gas. On the 20th of May 1967, Stefan was out in the woods 150 kilometers east of Winnipeg, Manitoba, searching for quartz and silver in the rocks around Falcon Lake. Quartz is a type of crystal. Stefan was a rational-minded man. He believed more in science than anything supernatural. It's worthy to note that Stefan had been in this area before. Around 12 p.m, Stefan had stopped to have lunch. He noticed that a group of geese nearby had been startled by something. Stefan looked up into the sky and saw two saucer-shaped flying objects. He described them as, quote, two cigar-shaped objects with humps on them, end quote. One of the objects descended and landed about 45 meters away, while the other one landed on a flat rock at the water's edge. The strange flying objects appeared to have glowing lights on them, and Stephen quickly drew what he saw. At first, Stefan thought that these two strange-looking objects were a part of some kind of US experiment. However, there were no markings on the objects to suggest this. After drawing the aircraft, Stefan then decided to approach it. As he got closer, he saw an opening on the side of the craft and then heard voices. Stefan assumed that the aircraft had landed here in order to make repairs. After hearing voices from the craft, Stefan yelled out, offering his help. He spoke in English, Russian, German, and Polish, but there was no response. Stefan got close enough to touch the hull of the aircraft, which burned his glove in the process. Suddenly, the door to the aircraft shut and it took off with an intense blast of hot gas which burned Stefan. Later, radioactive debris were found at the site by the RCMP investigators and the military. The RCMP and the Canadian forces were unable to explain the event. After the incident occurred, Stefan eventually made his way to a hospital where he was treated for first-degree burns on his chest. Stefan became very unwell. He was vomiting and he also suffered a visual impairment. He also experienced blackouts. 9 hours later, Stefan left the hospital and went home. At the time of the incident, his compass was not working. Strangely enough, for weeks, a sulfuric odour came from his body. He was later tested for radiation poisoning, but that came back negative. Then a few weeks after the incident, Stefan, along with a friend, went back to the site. After 7 hours of searching, they found a burned out semicircle in the ground. Dead tree branches were also found around the site. A few days later, Stefan would eventually take the RCMP to the site. Soil samples were collected and showed above average levels of radiation at 0.3 microcuries. The burns on Stephen's chest swelled up and formed a grid-like pattern of rashes. The burn marks would fade and then reappear over the years. Reporters got sight of the story and they began calling the Falcon Lake UFO incident the Canadian Roswell. Stefan's glove was melted and his hat and undershirt were burned. Samples of radioactive dirt was found and it was sent from one expert to another, including the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Royal Canadian Air Force. There were people who believed that Stephen was telling the truth about his encounter. However, there were also skeptics who said that Stephen made this whole thing up to keep people from going into the area where he was digging for quartz and silver, or he was hallucinating. The night before the incident, Stefan was drinking beer. What I find very interesting about this case is the burn marks on Stefan's chest were in a grid pattern. According to Stefan, he claims that he saw the same pattern on the aircraft. These burn marks were not normal, and despite the front of his hat getting burned, the back of his head was fine. No burn marks, nothing. The burn grid pattern was also found on Stefan's undershirt. A cause for Stefan's injuries was never found. The military, the police, and the media all got involved in this case. During visits to the site, 7 things were found, including pieces of metal that had melted and seeped into the cracks of the rocks. Stefan's glove was found at the site. Everything that was found at the site was all highly radioactive. Stefan was not the sort of person to make up something like this. Skeptics believe that the burn marks on Stefan's chest were caused due to an accident that occurred the night before while Stefan was drunk. Now, to me, this seems very unlikely. What sort of accident would cause a grid-like pattern on your chest? As far as I'm aware, at the time of the incident, Stefan was not dealing with any form of mental illness. Like I mentioned before, many people think that Stefan made this whole thing up to keep people away from the area where he was prospecting. Stefan says that what he experienced was real, however he did not believe in aliens. Stefan died in 1999. Stefan believed that he stumbled upon a US government experimental aircraft and not a UFO. Maybe he's in denial, I don't know. Oddly enough, over the years, there have been thousands of UFO sightings in the Manitoba area. Stefan's family are still searching for answers, and the Falcon Lake UFO incident remains a mystery. Let me know what you think about this case in the comment section down below. Do you think it was fake? Do you think it was real? I'm unsure about this case. I don't know what to believe. Stefan seemed like a rational-minded man, and his family have said that he wouldn't make up something like this, but I don't know. That's the case of the Falcon Lake UFO incident. As always, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.